We'll begin with a very serious information today. I have scammers, I have spammers and people who are pretending to be me under my YouTube channel. They're commenting under people's comments that you have won something. Click here or contact me on Telegram. My friends, listen to me now. I do have a Telegram account, but I never contact anyone through it. Never at all. So if you have been contacted by a scammer with my name and my picture saying that contact me on Telegram, you have won something, then unfortunately it's not true. You have not won the Gibson guitar they're saying you have won. I'm so sorry if you thought you're gonna get a Gibson. I have reported thousands of them, and if I do every day, I report many different ones of them. It's a bot from Russia, so I cannot fight an algorithm. They will recreate these accounts faster than I can report them. So I can just educate people. Don't believe them. But let's immediately jump to the front lines and what is up. The Russian somewhat failed retreat from Urozhaina has gotten a lot of coverage, and now we have yet another footage. Well, it's this road. You can see right here, and the view you're seeing right now is a Ukrainian first-person view drone that is targeting this Russian BMP-1. This is the retreat. They're trying to get away. They know this drone is up there and they're trying to drive away. You see, it's like a cat and mouse game. And the BMP-1 is the mouse, the drone is the cat, and it goes in for the kill for the first time. Let's see if he gets it. Going in for a kill. Do we see the explosion? No. Missed it, going for another round, and the BMP evades. Evasive maneuvers just like we practiced, Ivan, going back to the road. And second time going in for the kill, dropping down and oh, got him. Got him. This is the latest report from the Vostok battalion of Russia, which was responsible for the defense of Urozhaina and which pulled back from Urozhaina, and they report today that Ukrainians are pushing to Dnipro and Kremenchuk, this settlement to the southeast of Urozhaina, right here. So the battles are happening over these fields in between of Dnipro and Kremenchuk. The Vostok commander said that the situation for the Russians is incredibly tense, but the Ukrainians are not breaking through yet. I tend to be an optimist on my channel. I don't want to give you news that you see all over the place, but I cannot ignore the fact that the most difficult part for Ukrainians is the Kupiansk axis on the east and north, right here. This is the Kupiansk settlements, and the Russians are pushing from Liman, Pershi every day, daily, day and night actually. They're using Storm Z units, which are units made out of prisoners that the Russian Ministry of Defense has now under their control. They got them from Wagner. These are the last prisoners who have not been used as meat shields. Not been used means they're still alive. Their 6 months is over, but they're prisoners of the Russian Ministry of Defense now, not the prisoners of the Russian country. Ukrainians have deployed some reinforcements into the area to hold the line because the attacks are relentless, and the Russian Minister of Defense is using the same tactics like the Wagner did in Bakhmut. The tactic is extremely wasteful for Russian personnel, but unfortunately you can have success with it if you are persistent enough and if Ukraine doesn't have enough reinforcements. This is why they deployed new reinforcements into the area. My friends, you have all heard it by now, but Robotine, I'll zoom out also so you see where we are. It is the southern front coming south from Rehi. Robotine has been liberated by Ukrainian forces. Most of the Robotine settlement, Robotine village, has been liberated by Ukrainian forces. There is no official information yet, but you can already see it from this map, and it's some days behind, so Russians hold a very minimal urbanized area on the southern part of Robotine. And on this footage you can see United States supplied infantry fighting vehicle Bradley in Robotine deploying its smokescreen at night. Looks very cool, but I have some questions how effective a smokescreen is at night. Perhaps it can hide you against thermal view? If you know anything about that, please let me know if smoke screens are good enough against thermal view. This is the latest Russian report from the Robotine axis that Ukrainians have deployed also strikers into the battle, and they're pushing south, Nova Prokopivka, damn what a name, and southeast Verbova. Also, the fields in between, Ukrainians are pushing heavily in this direction. And the Russian situation, with their own words, is severe. My friends, let's very quickly talk about a topic that not many military bloggers right now talk about. This is the Russian economics. This is most important because it keeps this war going, because most of the fighters in the Russian army right now are there for money. Because the Russian Ministry of Defense promises them 10 times bigger pay than they would get in their hometown, which is Far East usually. When the full-scale invasion started, started, the ruble plummeted. You remember it. It crashed. And then Elvira Nebulina, who is the very potent and very capable leader, chief of Russian central bank, devised a strategy of propping up the ruble. That strategy also involved raising the interest to 20% and above, which is insanely high. But it worked. It is like fighting the symptoms with hardcore chemical drugs, and it works for some time, and it worked on the Russian economy also. The ruble stabilized, and Putin liked it. He's like, okay, it's fine, don't need to think about it anymore. Well, you can only fight the symptoms for that long. The ruble is crashing again, and not so fast as we saw it at the first days of full-scale invasion. No, it's crashing smoothly, but it's crashing. And you cannot do anything against it because the propping up of the ruble is fading away. The symptoms are beginning to show themselves again, and the root cause that causes these symptoms is, first of all, the sanctions. The diminishing exports. Russia cannot export their energy carriers anymore that much because the EU, the biggest buyer they ever had of anything, is not buying anymore. And the maximalizing of imports, because due to the sanctions, Russia cannot produce a lot of the goods they need in their daily lives, the country needs. So they import them from Asia or from Central Asian countries. That means minimal export, maximum imports means a lot of cash outflow. That is weakening the ruble. And you cannot really change that because Russia needs these goods to keep functioning. They need to import them. And they cannot export more gas because there's no buyers. They cannot export more oil because there's no buyers. There will be no imminent crash of the Russian economics or Russian country like the Western analytics foresaw at the start of the full-scale invasion. Oh, Russia's going to collapse. No, it will not happen. I'm here to tell you it will not. It will be a slow, steady and smooth death. We are seeing it right now. It's not crashing with 1 or 2 days. It's taking its time. Every day a little bit weaker. And the most scary part is the Russians see it. 2 days ago, the Russian central bank gathered for an emergency meeting. What to do? But you cannot do much. You have drugged up the Russian economy. Fought the symptoms, but the root causes cannot be changed because the president, the dictator, the Tsar, Putin, has led the country into this situation. It's part of his policy to decouple Russia from the EU. But that is the reason for the Russian economy's falling ruble. So what will happen? This is my prediction. Slowly and steadily, the Russian ruble will get weaker and weaker. The Russian economy will get weaker and weaker. There is not much Russia can do about it. They might find another way to mechanically prop up the ruble for a short period of time, but the ruble or the currency always follows the country's economical situation in the long term. And in the long term, slowly and steadily, Russia will move towards downfall. Again, I'm not proposing they will collapse. No, Iran has not collapsed under sanctions for 30 to 40 years. But their economy is in shambles, barely holding on. Their GDP has fallen 70% than what it was 40 years ago. That will be the Russia's future. Slow and steady to the doom. Now, my friends, let's go to KA-52, the Ukrainian established bridgehead over the Dnipro River. And in the last video, I reported these hypothetical pontoon bridges, and I said it very well that it might be there, it might not be there. If it's there, good. If it's not there, it's information up. And a lot of the comments said, oh, it's not there, not proved, you're fake informationing it. Well, in the very first minute of the video, I repeated many times that this is not proved by satellite imagery. But I guess some people only watch the title of the video and then leave a comment. Well, my friends, we still have not seen a satellite image proof of these pontoon bridges, so I would go out and confirm it. These pontoon bridges are not there. And as I said in the previous video, coming from swamplands, the Ukrainians liberated side of the Dnipro River, going to swamplands to the Russian occupied side of the Dnipro River. Swamp on both sides, there is no point in deploying pontoon bridges on the Dnipro from KA-52. The other part is the Novagohovka reservoir. Look at this water body, huge, isn't it? But now look at this footage. There's no water here anymore. It's mostly rocks, mud, dried up mud and some greenery. Fields of greenery. Now, of course, the mud was here for 30, 40 plus years, so underneath the dry upper part, it's still wet underneath and it will take time to dry fully. But I would say another way to cross for Ukrainians is actually this reservoir. It is not fully dried up, but it's getting there. Of course, in November there will be heavy rains again and this is out of the table. But before, there will be a time back cap when this area here can carry heavy armor and it's dry enough. So time will tell, but I would love to see Ukrainians push with Strikers and Bradleys and Leopards over this Novagovka reservoir. My friends, from this drone footage we can see the Russian training ground somewhere in the southern front. Let's look. There's some training trenches, these are some firing positions, and these are Russian troops training about 30 kilometers from the front to go to the front. So first of all, what this video does is claiming that Russians don't have training at all is false. They are training their men now. This was the case at the first months of war when men were sent more as cannon fodder. Russians also learn how to fight, and they learn that training is incredibly necessary for the good result of the battle. This is what they're doing here. Well, troops going to their shooting positions, and this is some headquarters of the training area. It's not a huge training area, a small one. Recently established shooting positions. From lying down, you have these mats here so you wouldn't have to lie on the ground. Not a problem. Oh, what is that? That is a visit from St. HIMARS, my friends, and I want to guide your attention to the explosion. Yes, but these small debris on the side of the explosions, these are 180,000 tungsten balls about this big. They're inside the HIMARS missile, HIMARS rocket, I think it's the proper way to say it. It lands, explodes, and the balls poof, explode out, leaving this debris, hailstorm, Stalin's organ, however you want to call it, but nothing survives it. I cannot show you the aftermath, cause I just can't. It's people down there. And this is the housing I showed you before, and bada boom! You see, it's a huge kaboom. But more importantly, look at the hailstorm of these tungsten balls. Wherever you're standing in the 100-meter vicinity of this building or explosion, there will be red mist left of you. So it's an incredibly scary and efficient weapon, the HIMARS with the tungsten balls. This is why the HIMARS was a game changer. These tungsten balls, they also take down, they don't take down tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, but trucks, cars, radar systems, any kind of sensors on top of the tanks will be obliterated. So it was a game changer when US provided it to Ukraine. Wagner was recently registered as a legal entity in Belarus, and we now have also the information of how they registered it, to whose name and into what area. The services Wagner provides are educational services, the main services. So they're there to educate people. What, educate people to the afterlife? That's what they do, I guess that's however you want to word it. You know, I'm gonna make a new private military company, and the main area of the company is snorkeling and swimming and teaching how to swim, because we make people swim with the fishes, you know? It's the same kind of thought. The owner of the company is listed as Maxim Petrov. He's a Russian citizen. Well, the real owner, Prigozhin. We might see Wagner in Africa being decoupled from Wagner in Europe, because it's Putin's power struggle game. Now let's go to the map to Belarus. We see Belarus has border with Lithuania, Poland and Latvia. Thank God that Estonia, my country, don't have a border with Belarus, because the border is the issue. Lithuanian authorities announced yesterday that they will be closing some border points with Belarus. Same has been announced by Latvia and Poland. So they're effectively closing some areas of the border, and in the future they have said that they're ready to close most of the border. We see the new Iron Curtain forming on the NATO countries, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and then Belarus and Russia. This is the new Iron Curtain. The new Cold War is already going on. Borders are being closed. Also, Latvian border guards right now have a joint vacation at the same time, and Latvian authorities invited those border guards back from the vacation. I feel so sorry. Latvians also need to rest, but you can't, because you have Belarus next to you, so you gotta guard the border. Now, my friends, the Russian losses of the past 24 hours, 17th of August 2023. 480 Russian liquidated personnel. I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but I gotta clear this up. This is not dead. It's liquidated, means taken out of battle, which means dead, wounded, missing, and all other via, kia, dia, hia, whatever you wanna put the ia at the end. It's all of those combined. These troops are taken out of fight. The Russian Ministry of Defense loses this amount of troops out of the battle every day. 5 tanks, 18 armored personnel vehicles, which mostly come from the Kupiansk axis, where they're pushing very heavily, 17 artillery systems, 1 anti-aircraft warfare systems, no aircrafts. Well, Ukraine actually shot down 2 Russian aircrafts today, but they will be shown tomorrow. 24 UAVs, a very sad number because you know these are missiles which are aimed at Ukrainian people. 2 cruise missiles and 27 vehicles and fuel tanks. Well, the first report comes from the Ukrainian armed forces. Ukrainians shot down a Russian KA-52 in the Bakhmut direction with a man-pad, a shoulder-fired anti-aircraft system, bazooka, Igla, Stinger, you know, that kind of weapon. But that is not it. The 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine shot down another Russian KA-52 with a man-pad in the Robotina direction. They shot this one down 7:40 AM in the morning. The thing is, Russian alligator choppers, very good choppers. Cannot say anything against them. I would say they're one of the more capable Russian helicopters, the newest ones, of course. And if Russia could mass produce them, Ukraine would be in serious trouble. Fortunately, Russians have a very finite number of them, and they can produce them extremely slowly, if at all. They're very good choppers, and they can fire their missiles quite accurately, about 10 kilometers from the front. Let's see how much is 10 kilometers. Well, it's not Tokmak, but it's like halfway. So these choppers always fly close to 10 kilometers, where my cursor is right now, all over the front. For example, Donetsk city, the eastern part of it is 10 clicks away. They shoot their missiles there and they fly back. Some of the choppers fly closer to get more accuracy or more range on their missiles. And then, if they fly 4 kilometers from the front line, they're immediately in the range of Ukrainian man-pads, for example Stinger missiles, which have a very high percentage of hits, accuracy connecting to target. And if Ukrainians fire their man-pads on these KA-52s, they will be usually taken down. This is why we see them shot down every once in a while. 2 in one day is insanely high for the recent days. And now, my friends, we go to Canada. This is a video of Canadian instructors saluting the Ukrainian recruits who were training in Canada. They have finished their training, they're going back to Ukraine. But I want to guide your attention to how similar these Canadian camouflage uniforms are to Estonian ones. Cat pats, they call it. And every time I showed myself in uniform or some videos from my military times, they said, "Are you wearing a cat pat?" No, that's the Estonian camouflage. It's very similar. Alright, my friends, we have some freaky Patreon names that I want to butcher with my Estonian pronunciation. And the first one is a big Patreon. I don't get many big Patreons, but this one is. Let me give it to you. SNDDN SND Meide bi truslanullampt Bainestis Veashust Nine Komplonut Tokkokue Arkestfürm Blerp Blerpte Shenimenamnumn Gut Jobst Yo. That is the official name of this Patreon. Oh, my tongue is twisted, but thank you. Your amount is a bit bigger and your name is a lot bigger. Thanks. Rian Augustine. Oh, thank God. Clint Redvoid. Gary Parker. Peter.ploemer@gmail.com. I'm not sure if I would publish your hymn. Well, thank you, these 5 patrons, for supporting the channel. If you like my channel, you know what to do. The Patreon link is in the description below. Also, my friends, go and check out my Twitter account, because 3 times a day, most important news about the war, you'll get it as fast as possible, as compact as possible. Also, check out my Instagram account, because my secret projects and my trips to Ukraine will be uploaded there. Keep an eye out for those. And until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini.